To the round pen. We are Equine Assisted Way. And so who is Equine Assisted Way? It's my business partner, Jessica, and myself. We're both from Canada. I run a facility called Cimarron Way out of a small little town where we live, and we welcome people from all over the world to our little facility, which is incredible. And Jessica is in Northern Alberta doing the same, and she specializes in at-risk youth. And so for us, we opened up each about 2.5 years ago, not a long time ago, but when we opened up, we were very clear on what we were doing. We were passionate, on fire. We knew our zone, we knew our niche. And what we found out quickly, we filled up really quick. We found out that the world needs more equine entrepreneurs. The mental health world that we are in right now is looking for something different. And imagine if we could spread this around the world. And that really is the basis of the round pen. And so really serial entrepreneurs that are doing it in the equine space. And so, oh, Trix, there you are. Good to see you. And so what do? We do premium certification, and we do it in horse facilitated development. So you're going to hear us say horse facilitated development. You can use that as a catch-all. Because here's the thing, we all work with horses and humans to foster growth between horses and humans, right? Using nonverbal communication. And so we have an advanced certification, we do premium programs, and we do one-on-one mentorship. But that is enough about us. That's a quick intro, so at least you know who you're speaking with. All right, so we're going to do a giveaway. And so the UK, welcome, Elaine. That's fantastic to see you. Giveaway. We love to, you guys are the ones that showed up. And so how do we help you with it? And so we love to do a giveaway. A ton of you guys have been sharing the group. It's been really, really great to see. And so what Jessica's going to do, if your name's coming up as iPhone or a Samsung or something else, make sure you put your name in the chat, okay? Because what she's going to do at the end is she's going to do a draw, and someone is going to win either a free one-on-one mentorship with either myself or Jess, or our sponsorship program, which is you'll get the full program. Jess always said it should have been called a marketing program. It's a sponsorship program in where you learn how to partner up with businesses to create the funding that you may need in your facility, so you never ever have to turn people away because of funding. Been phenomenal for our facility, and so someone for showing up is going to end up with that. So she'll announce it after the call here. All right, let's get going. So we do the round pen once a month. Today is about how to facilitate in the unknown moments. And so this is really 3 parts. Facilitating in those moments where you don't know what's going to come up. Okay, so getting away from exercises and getting into allowing the horse to be the guru they are, and creating an environment of 360 degrees of empowerment. So we coach everything horses, business, mindset, but today we're really going to focus on the horse. All right. Let's do this. Pitt Meadows, great to see you, Lynn. Okay, so raising the bar on professionalism. So this is kind of something I've been really speaking with people lately, and this is kind of the elephant in the room that I got to be honest, facilitators, mentors, coaches don't like to talk about, so it's something we don't talk about. And it's how our industry is seen to other professionals is entirely up to us. And so we as facilitators, it is our job to be aware of what professionals in our industry think of what we do and to raise that bar. We are, and every country is different, but we are primarily unregulated. Okay, which means anything goes, which is phenomenal. To be part of an unregulated, to mean that you can blaze your own trail, that you can step in your lane and stay in your niche is phenomenal. But we also need to be aware of where we may be falling back and where other people in what we do, other professionals see as what we do. So we are advocates. We are the only advocates for our horses and for our industry. Okay, and so where is this coming from? A lot of conversations in the last month of people saying, I feel like I'm parading horses around a little bit, right? I feel like I'm going out and I'm told that they have to have a goal and that the horses have to do something specific. And I'm uncomfortable with that. I have that conversation a lot. Any of you ever felt that? And if so, again, throw it in the chat. I had a locum vet here last week. And interestingly, there was a little bit of a standoffish piece. And so when we dug into it, and this is not the first time I've heard this from the vet, is there was this piece of we use horses and make them do things when we're talking about very highly sensitive animals and putting them in situations and making them do things to kind of parade them around. again, not the first time I've heard that. Juanita's agreeing here. And so we are the only advocates they have. And so when we talk about animal welfare, we all jump to this place, or I know I do, kind of the rescue horses and abandoned horses and abused horses. But that can look like so many different things. And so we're going to have some fun with it today and really just look at, where are we stewarding our horses, and are we empowering them to be incredible? And are we empowering ourselves to raise the bar? And so we all as an industry end up with something that is seen as very top in the mental health world. My chat isn't. Yeah, Anna. Okay. Yes, we'll talk about that, Anna. And yeah, Joanne, I stand for the horses first and foremost. So great. So I love having everybody jump in here. So how are we going to do it? So here's the thing with horses, and this is really the reason we work with horses, right? Your herd horses are sentient beings, right? They, like you, have a powerful zone of genius. There's something that your herd and individually your horses are better at than any other horse. That's what they do. That's their best. That's where they are. And it's when they work from that space, when we can empower them to work from that space, that's where the magic happens. That's where the zone of genius comes out. And that's where we see time after time again, these sessions that are aha, and they're right at the top. And so it's remembering that, because there's a reason that we don't work with dogs or goats or any of the other animals that have clear therapeutic value. We work with horses. We work with them specifically in the congruencies and the incongruencies. And so how do we get to that space of empowering them so they can work in that zone of genius, in that space where the magic happens? So the zone of genius is something, I mean, a lot of people talk about this, but there's really 4 spaces. And the first one is the zone of incompetence. Okay. And so grab a pen and paper, because this is something I really highly suggest you do later for yourself as well. Okay. But the zone of incompetence. Okay. That might be a place, and you're thinking, think of something maybe in your business or with your herd that they maybe could do, but they should not be doing that. Okay. So let's think about a herd. So I've got a horse that should not be working, being just led around by a child with no kind of direction. I've got a horse that would be an incompetent zone. So let's throw it in there. What do you have for an incompetent zone, either for yourself or for horses? Okay, I'm going to give you a moment. Another incompetent zone I have is these PowerPoints, so I shouldn't be doing them. But what's an incompetent zone for you with one of your horses? Hey, Pauline. Okay, so I'll give you a moment to think about that. Because as we go up it, we move from incompetence to competence. Okay, so taking that same horse that really should not just be working with children, move them up to a competence place. Well, maybe, yeah, petting zoo animal. Yeah, so you move up to competence and say, okay, so can the horse do it? Okay, so is the fact that the horse could just do something high enough to say that they're in their zone of genius? Okay, so thinking of your herd, thinking of something they can do, maybe it's, taking someone bareback, whatever that is that high enough to be stewarding our horses in their zone of genius? Okay. Yeah, so rescue that is unpredictable for beginners. And another good word around unpredictable is unwilling, uninterested, not in their zone. Okay. Joanne, trying to follow a programmed exercise step by step. Yeah, how do you work in the unknown moments when you're trying to follow step by step? Okay, so as we move up, and again, we can be thinking of yourself, we have excellence. So in the zone of excellence, what are your horses good at? And think of them individually. They're sentient beings. They all have different gifts and strengths. What is their zone of excellence? Okay.
Training on horse businesses. And
and Jess, if you could just mute that, that would be good. Anna, what do we got here? Yeah, make sure they're ready and willing. And so moving up into genius, this is that place that is so powerful to work from. When you can work yourself from a zone of genius, but truly, and I'll give you an example of your horse's zone of genius, this is where the magic happens. This is why we work with horses. because we find the congruent place between what the horse can teach and what the human is mirroring, and where the congruent place is in between. And when you find that zone of genius, all of a sudden allowing your horse to work in incompetence or competence is absurd. It's not even close to where they need to be, when they could be in excellence and when they could be in genius. Okay. And so we're talking horse here, but we're also talking you. We're talking about your lane, your zone of genius, your, staying in your niche. And so here's the thing with your zone of genius. Your zone of genius is the one thing that you do better, the one thing your horse does better than anything else. And that's the place where the magic happens. And so I like this idea of protecting the golden goose. Your horse, your herd, they're the golden goose. You're the golden goose. Everything else fits around that. Think of Mickey Mouse in Disneyland. Mickey doesn't come and ticket you at the door and then go set up the fireworks and then chat with people and then do it all, right? Mickey is the star of the show, shows up to make people happy and believe in the wonder of Disneyland, and then leaves, because that's what Mickey does. And so it's the same thing with your horse. And so I'd love to tell you a little story about one of my horses, Peppy. And so stewarding your herd, again, if other professionals think we prance our horses and we make them do things that are not in their zone and out of that place, every horse is different. We have sensitive ones, we have ones that love children, we have ones that don't even want to halter on them. They're all different, right? And so this is Pappy here, and this is at one of our facilitator courses. And so Pappy's the bay with the blaze there. And Pappy only steps up for the hardest of the hard. That's his thing. He has no interest in majoring in the minors, none at all. He wants to work on boundaries. Every single time that Pappy steps up, we're talking boundaries. Every single time, I guarantee it. So a little insight into where we're going. It's so easy to facilitate the unknown moments with Pappy, because I know if he steps up, I know we're dealing with boundaries, okay? And I know we're dealing at a very high level. But if we talk incompetence for Pappy, it would be working with anyone who is not interested in moving forward in their life. That would be the first incompetence, okay? So he will not step up because we work at liberty. We allow them to choose. I can look at this photo and I know exactly where to facilitate based on who's stepping up and what's going on here in nonverbal communication. But incompetence, okay? So we move up to competence level, okay? So if there was somebody and they had the goal of walking pylons to come back, and that was their goal, to have the confidence to do that, could he do that? Yes. Would that be a place of his zone of genius? No. Is he going to get sour? Is he going to want to walk the pylons? Is he going to want to work? No, that is not his thing. He works at a very high level. So moving up to excellence, flimsy boundaries, that's his thing. And so if he steps up, I know we're talking flimsy boundaries, okay? He's standing there, he can work with anyone with flimsy boundaries. However, his zone of genius is one step higher, and it's working flimsy boundaries with somebody who's willing to make a decision. Even if they don't think they are, they're willing to make a decision, okay? When Pappy works in that top, in that zone of genius, I know already we are talking boundaries and someone who's ready to move forward in their life. The ahas come very quick and very easy in those unknown moments when I don't know where it's going, because we have a herd. I have a horse that is a guru. He is a professional at what he does because we allow him to only work in his zone of genius. Okay. And so you're thinking, I don't know how this works with my herd. Get to know them. They will, when you allow them to only work in zone of excellence and zone of genius, they show up every single time. And with Pappy, as soon as it starts to move down and that person is no longer in a place where they're going to make a decision, he's at liberty and he walks away. And so super, super powerful place. And now we are truly treating them as these sentient beings that they are. The one in behind, the Appaloosa, that's Thunder. All he teaches is trust, and where trust has been broken. And so in this photo, if this was alive, I know exactly we are talking somebody who's got some sort of boundary issues, and there's a strong trust piece, because her dynamics, you got to know your herd. Thunder will never just be hanging out with Pappy to hang out with him. That close proximity is not a safe space for him in their herd dynamics. Okay. And so going through, I'd like to know in the chat, what is one thing you're willing to commit to with your herd? Where is there an awareness that you're working with them in incompetence and you're willing to let that go? So as you're thinking about that, I'm going to tell you a quick story, but just in the chat. And you may not be quite sure, but it could be letting kids work with a horse that should just be an adult horse. Okay. Maybe it's having a horse that has kind of a child mind and making them step up for the big things when that is not their zone and that is not fair. Okay. So I'd love to know in the chat, throw them in there. Where is one places where you're heard where maybe you're in the zone of incompetence? But you got to give that one to your horse and just allow them, you know. Yeah, great teacher for non-beginners. Yeah, it's amazing when you allow them to step up. And so as you go with that, I'll tell you a story about Thunder here, the Appaloosa. And again, I'm telling you the story so you have time to pop in. What are you going to leave? What's the incompetence you're going to leave behind? Thunder first came to us and he stepped up with everyone. Okay. And because he stepped up with everyone, it was like, he's the perfect horse. He'll step up with everyone. He's around. And he always had this strong, stable place of being there. And one day we had a group, and it was a group of social workers. And because there was a lot of people and a lot going on, I didn't notice that one of the social workers was dumping everything. And he couldn't, he was haltered and he couldn't actually get away. And that night he called us. And that night we almost lost him. And we had to make that deal together of he needed to be in a lot more choice than we were in. And what's incredible, and so his thing is trust. And what's incredible, he made that night. I didn't think he'd make the night. And he, you know, he's come out with shining colors since, but only because we truly put him in the place where what he does is fully up to choice. We start, he gets to choose every single time whether he's going to step up. He has never haltered prior to, he is never tied up prior to, as none of our horses are. And so, you know, that's that true place of stewarding and realizing where his incompetent zone was and keeping him strong in that. So Juanita, yeah, no more assigning a horse to a person. Yeah, that's powerful, right? Standoffish one that is not confident. Okay, so knowing the places where, and understanding why they're standoffish, right? One that hangs back. Hangs back and will only stand behind them. Great. What are they teaching? What is it, right? And how are you going to commit to no longer allowing the incompetence piece? No, and what I mean by that is making them work in that piece. Because when you get up to excellence, back to Pappy, when he's in his zone of genius, he is powerful. He will crack people open in 3 minutes crying every single time. If we put him into incompetence, that's where people could get hurt. They don't, because I'm watching it, because we don't allow it. That's where someone's going to get kicked. That's where someone's going to get bit, because we're putting sentient beings in a place that they shouldn't be in. So I love it. Keep the comments, Jess, if you can keep up with those. I can't see them all. So yeah. All right. So you, my dear, are the contributor, but your herd, they are the true professionals. And so I love this. This is a place of holding yourself to a very high level, working within your own zone of genius, working within your horse's zone of genius, but understanding, take some pressure off, okay? You are simply a contributor. Your horses are the guru. How exciting. Again, that's why we don't work with other therapeutic animals. Our herd is phenomenal. And when we elevate them to genius, when we elevate them to bring forth their personalities, to bring forth that piece that nobody does better, they step into a guru spotlight. And from a guru spotlight, we start to see tangible results. We start to see facilitating in those moments that we could never, ever try to fix by ourselves, to say, we are going to plan this outcome and that's how great it's going to be. You're going to see results far higher when you realize your horses are professionals, your horses are gurus. We just get to contribute. Take the pressure off yourself. Okay, so how many of you put way too much pressure? And again, throw it in the chat. How many of you are putting way too much pressure on the results and the outcome on yourself? Feeling like I need to be everything to everyone, and this has to be an amazing session, and I need to really bang out a phenomenal exercise. How many of you are doing that? Me, Anna, I love it. Yeah, Anna, I'm seeing. Who else? Who else is doing that? Yeah, Joanne used to, but not anymore. Guilty, Tricks, Nancy, yeah. Here's the thing, guys. We have a whole world of people that are looking for what we have. We can't take that much on, okay? You got to put the power back to your herd. They are phenomenal. Lynn, yeah, they are phenomenal. Give them the power, okay? When you truly understand this piece, it becomes easy, okay? You begin to relax and you think about it. When I say to you, you don't have to be the guru. You get to just be a contributor. Can you feel your shoulders come down? Because I know I do. Can you feel yourself start to relax a little bit? Again, throw it in the thing. Anybody feel that? That piece of you just get to facilitate in those moments. And I know you got some questions. They're going to come up and I'll answer them in a few minutes. But do you have that, right? Allow yourself to just simply be a contributor, okay? Again, we got a lot of lives to change. We got a world of people looking for you. We can't be everything to everyone. Just relax. Pauline, great to see you here. And absolutely. Alana, I think you had a book recommendation. It came up on my thing. Absolutely. Put it out to everybody. I think that's, again, when we say this is about professional facilitators inspiring creative ideas, we're all the professional facilitators, okay? Anna, yeah, even if we don't understand what's happening, oh, powerful, right? It's not about us. Again, let the ego go, let the control go. All right, so how do you do this? Okay, this is such a big piece. It's just how do we do it? Phew, Don Roberts. Yeah, I love that. I hope that you feel a little bit of relief. So how to facilitate in the unknown moments. I guess I got to back it up and say, what are the unknown moments? I'll talk about exercise in the moment, but the unknown moments is the incongruencies or the congruencies between horse and human, where we don't know what's going to happen next. We don't know where the guru, the horse, is taking the session. We don't know what's happening next. But if we trust our herd, we get present, we allow, and we get into awareness, it can go to magical places. And so it's really those moments that we have no idea what's going on, but those are the powerful moments. Okay. And so at Equine Assisted Way, which is our advanced facilitator programs, we really work on 4 things all the time. And so I want to give you this again, write them down. It's something you can remind yourself all the time. Okay. So how do you facilitate in the unknown moments? Number 1, you got to be present. And again, in the chat, how many of you find it really hard to be present when you're trying to facilitate and keep this whole thing moving? How many of you? I mean, you got to be honest. I know for myself, it's something I teach this, and it's something I'm just constantly like, I got to remind myself, right? How many of you find it hard to be in the present when, again, you have a new client, or maybe you're, you get into something and it's gone real deep? Fiona, Lana, yep. Yeah, and you're going like, how do I stay present? Here's the thing. The horses are reading you, the horses are reading him. You need to be in the present. That's primarily where they're living, and that's where we need to be. And when we're not in the present, when we're thinking, oh, where is this going? What am I going to say next? We're in ego and we're in the future or the past, right? From those 2 places, we, number 1, can't be in the present. We can't ask great questions, okay? We can't be aware, which is number 2. You got to be present, but number 2, you got to be aware. What's going on? What is going on around? There's the obvious threats, what could be coming in, those things. But awareness is those often seemingly tiny little things that switch the trajectory of your entire program or your entire session, okay? So being aware of those tiny little pieces, okay? While in the present. If you're not in the present, you're not going to be aware of it. Number 3, allowing. And I'd love to know from people, Lisa, the presence takes me into timelessness. Yeah, we call the presence the first gift of the horse. Why? Because everybody will say after getting present, I never lived my life here. Imagine if you were able to give that transformation to somebody of just spending a small time, an hour, and challenging them to an hour a day in the presence, where would their life go? Where would your life go? Right? Imagine that. So presence, being aware. Number 3, which can be so tough, is allow. Allow your horse to be the guru. Allow your client to cry. Allow your client to struggle. Allow your client to feel what they got to feel. We're not here to be the hero. We're here to read nonverbal communication and foster the horse-human connection for transformation and growth. That's it. Notice it has nothing to do with us. So allow it to go where it goes. Allow it to be about the horse and the human. Allow it to be amazing in its own way. Because again, when we have exercises, when we're worried about we're half an hour in and I haven't hit pillar 2 or pylon 2, we are not in the present. We are not aware of what really needs to happen. We are not allowing the horse. And the last one, which for myself is probably the hardest one, is trust, right? Can you truly trust yourself to trust the herd? So massive. And I'll tell you, these 4 run through my head every session I do. I'll be standing there in a session. I do really at risk, high risk, and I have no mental health background. I want to be clear on that. And so how do you allow high risk, at risk with no mental health background? You realize that the horses are the gurus. I am very clear about the fact that I'm not a therapist, but I will always stand behind the fact that our horses provide absolutely incredible therapy. How can I do that? It's from a place of trust. And so when I'm in a session and I'm doing my best to be present and allow the herd to do what they do. And I'd love to know from you guys, you ever have those sessions where all of a sudden, like you have no idea where it's going? You're asking the questions that pop up in your mind and it's kind of zigzagging, like you're talking about this and then you're talking about this and you have no idea and it's flopping. It's in those moments that I remind myself, and that's a key for you, to remind yourself, trust the process, trust in the herd. They are phenomenally incredible professionals when we stay out of the way. And the thing about trust and the thing about the 4 pillars that's really interesting is that when you can trust yourself and trust the herd, you allow the herd. When you allow the herd, you start to become aware. From a place of aware and true presence, you know the right questions to ask. So of the 4, throw it in there. What's the hardest piece for you in really wanting to facilitate in those unknown moments? What is the piece that you find the hardest? So I'm going to give you 1 moment on that. Lisa, I love this piece of person before diagnosis. Talk human, not therapy. Yeah, it's not about what happened to them. It's about how it made them feel. And what I love in the work we do, you don't even need to hear the story. The horses pick it up. The horses find the incongruence. They move it to congruence. And a lot of times for people who don't want to say it out loud, they don't need to. That's the beautiful piece. All right, let me check. Give me 1 moment. I want to look at these chats and know allow and trust, awareness, Christelle, trust, Jane. I always say a little all 4 for me. Dawn, this is powerful, Dawn. I used to be afraid of the silences, but now I look forward to them. How often do we ruin the silence because we are afraid of the silence? Because we feel we need to be the guru and we better have an answer. Okay, those are the magical moments. Dawn, I appreciate you so much for bringing that up. Those are the magic moments if we allow them to happen. Okay. Yeah, if it was me, I would be putting all 4, not for you guys, for me, because this is something, this is how I prepare. I don't come down with a full exercise. I have a chalk pen in my back pocket, which I'll talk about in a moment. And I prepare myself to be present, to allow. And I look at what do I need to get rid of out of my life so that I can trust. You know? Beautiful, Nancy, beautiful, Joy. I love it. All right. So keeping in mind those 4 pillars. But Tamara, if I have no confidence, how in the heck am I going to go out there? I'm going to allow my herd to just step up. I'm going to allow them to be amazing. I'm going to facilitate in unknown moments. And I'm not going to do exercises. How does that work, Tamara? That's ridiculous. Okay, so you're going to hear me a lot knocking exercises, okay? And again, because that place of we parade around horses, that's what a lot of facilities, and again, we call it horse facilitated development, because whether you're doing therapeutic riding, EAL, EFL, you know, again, it goes on and on, there's a million of them. There's always the ones that are parading around and not realizing the horses are needing to be stewarded, that we are the only voice for them, and that there is something that they are incredible at that we're not allowing because we're holding them in a very small space. But Tamara, you have exercise programs. You're absolutely right. I sell exercise programs, right? Why? Not because, and I want to be clear on this, not because I want you to go through and step by step do the program. because every one of them is step by step. My biggest fear in putting those programs out is that you will actually do them step by step. My greatest wish is that you take an exercise for confidence in your back pocket so that you have some ideas that when things crack open for them, and it's a piece that maybe they don't have to tell you, you can think, oh, I got pylons. Why don't you and your horse go? And why don't you head over to that pylon? And why don't you think about what a decision could be? And once you've made the decision at that pylon, why don't you come back? Okay. Again, it may be a little back pocket, but it's confidence. Because when you have confidence in what you're doing, you trust yourself. When you trust yourself, you allow the herd. When you allow the herd, you have awareness to know what questions to ask. And when you have awareness, you have to be present. Okay. And so today's bonus for all of you that have come on, we've put together a real basic PDF. This is by no means, and this is not it, this is a part of it. This is by no means comprehensive. This is meant, my biggest goal from this whole thing is that maybe you take a little bit of confidence to steward your horses to the highest possible level. Allow them to be the gurus and step into the magic because you have some confidence. And so this is some basic tools. I literally, as I said, one of my biggest tool is chalk pens. These are just pens. It doesn't matter. They need to be washable pens. You'll always see me. My husband laughs because I wash all my clothes with chalk pens. There's color on all my clothes because there's chalk pens in every single one of my jackets and everything, always in my back pocket. I can build my business entirely facilitating the unknown moments with a chalk pen in my back pocket. For Jess, it's probably a halter. I'll let her talk about that. For you, it might be a hoof pick. It might be a blindfold. It might be pylons. It might, again, it doesn't matter what it is. If it gives you the confidence to get going, a grooming kit. I mean, it goes on and on. It can be extravagant. It can be a chalk pen in your back pocket. It's what's the thing. And so I'd love to know, throw it in the chat. What's confidence in your back pocket? What is the thing that, for me, it's chalk pens, and I have these tiny little, these are off just Amazon. It's a tiny little horse charm, and it's my empowerment thing I always talk to people about, and that's what I do, okay? But again, throw it in there. What's the confidence in your back pocket? What's the thing, what's the thing that gives you that piece that you go out and you say, okay, I can hold myself in those 4 pillars as long as I have X. What is it for you guys? Chalk markers, yeah. Liz, love that. Yeah, dollar store is such a great way to pick up stuff. But what else for you guys? And again, it might be all the same things. It might be different. I'd love to hear. I have these little clips. I wish I had one up there. I don't, but they're chip bag clips and they look like monsters. And I call it the monster on your back. And when people are talking and they're talking about change, but there's a but, something's holding them back, I pull it out and I say, it sounds like there's a monkey on your back or a monster on your back. And we clip it to them until they're ready to get rid of it. Very, very simple, right? But that's fine. There's lots of you guys on here. Jump on. And there's no how long I've been in the business. I shouldn't say anything. This is super important. Joanne, nothing I can think of, because maybe it's just your intuition. Or maybe, again, we're all different in what it is. Healing trinket, turquoise, amber. Love it. I was reading the other day that horses see the best in teal, for what it's worth. Pigtail hairdo. It's a play on Baby Yoda, trusting myself to know what to ask. Love it. Beaded bracelet. The whole thing is, it's just symbolic. It's the thing that you use. Like, I'm known for that. Whip out a chalk pen, let's start talking, right? But what is it? So that's the whole thing, is when you have confidence, you can start to facilitate from those unknown moments. So when you know your herd, you can facilitate from the unknown moments. And all of a sudden, a pen, a blindfold, whatever, beaded bracelet can move it. Because as I showed you in that original picture, I know in looking at that picture and not knowing that session, it was flimsy boundaries and it was trust, or where trust has been broken. I have another horse, it's abandonment every single time. And people think I'm a magician because I say, this might sound funny, but if I were to throw the word abandonment out, what would that mean to you? And they will cry every single time, because that's the level when you allow your horse to work in choice in what they're 100% best at. I have another little who it is all about self-worth. And the only time she would step up with an adult would be if there's some sort of child, somebody else orangutanging in the back of their life, and they're allowing it to knock their self-worth. You know, a child that is out of control or something like that. So, you know, that becomes my answer of, you know, how do you actually step into facilitating? So letting go of the reins. I don't know. Does this resonate with any of you guys? This idea of having to let go of the reins, right? But in letting go of the reins, we also pick them up. We also pick it up to that place of I'm very much in control of every session because we work at that level of allowing the horses to do their thing. I know we're going to end up with tangible results. I know we're going to end up with tears. I know we're going to end up with tangible results. And I know we're going to end up with an aha. And that might sound like a super cocky thing to say. How can I say that? Because it's not about me. It's about the herd. And so Tamara, what if my horses don't choose to step up, pardon me, not set up, step up? Completely understand that, right? What a fear. And that's something I remind myself of every single day. Here's the secret. If you are in the presence, if you're trusting your herd, if you're allowing them to do what they do and you're aware of everything going on, they'll step up every single time. They love what they do. This is passion and purpose. This is like what they've been waiting for their whole life when you allow them to do it on their terms. So if your horses don't choose to step up, I strongly suggest you turn the mirror back at yourself. And I'm saying this to myself as well. Turn the mirror back at yourself. In what of those 4 pillars are you still strangle holding? Okay. Are you still strangle holding? I'm trusting myself, but I'm not going to allow them. Okay. Because if I get them to the end of our exercise and we've done it all, then we've got an outcome. Are you strangle holding that? Okay. And there's an old adage, and it was a squirrel, and there's a tree full of nuts and there's a little hole. And if the squirrel puts his hand in one at a time and just pulls out one nut, there'll always be enough nuts. But if he goes in and strangle holds the entire pack of nuts, they actually can't get their hand out. So where are you strangle holding your business and not letting go of the reins? Okay. Yeah, Liz, you're letting go in a different way. Letting go of the reins is a different way in how my business is branching out. See, at a pace you can handle. Absolutely. And so if your horse doesn't step up, go back to the 4 pillars. Okay. Go back to the 4 pillars. And if you're doing all those, I would ask you, are you allowing them to work in their zone of genius, or are you making them work in their incompetence? What if the horses cracks them open? I don't know what to say. This is such a big one. I did this at the beginning. My horses kept cracking people open and there was always tears. And I have no mental health background. I got a business background. And so this was like the biggest fear for me because it kept happening. You know what the key word is here? I don't know what to say. I'm allowing them to facilitate the unknown moments. I'm allowing the herd to be amazing. I just have some tools. I'm not worried about getting to the end of the obstacle course. Now the person's crying, I don't know what to say. Guess what? Your horses are the guru. They crack them open and they'll put them back together every single time. Okay. And so I'm not getting over this line of like, are we beyond what we can do? Believe in your herd. Your herd 100% can put them back together. And know that you don't have to have the right thing to say because it's not about you. Okay. And so in those moments, again, it could be back to, sounds like you're ready to make a decision. Why don't I step away and allow you to do work with your horse on that? Right. Well, and again, you might have a great question. That's just an idea. You don't have to be it, right? It's not about you. And when you have a question of I, just know that's about you, right? Yeah, Lana, the best horses have a wet mane from tear. Yeah. You know, we're taught in this world, like when someone starts crying to hand them a Kleenex and stop it for them, right? Better out than in, I always say, right? We just reinforce that crying is an issue when we do that. What if we just allowed them, trusted that this was their process and allowed them to have those tears, right? What we say has to be better than silence. Yeah, you know, I had a facilitator here doing the facilitator course, and she was facilitating on me, and it was so powerful because she was telling me what to do, and I said, so what am I supposed to do? You know, in my, my brain of facilitating, she said, Tamara, sometimes it's about being, not doing. That was like mind blowing to me. And, and again, it was a facilitator. So know that your horses will crack them open when you allow them to be gurus, when you allow them to work at their niche. But know that you don't have to know what to say. What if I don't know the right questions to ask? Well, I can't help you with what the right questions are because you're going to be so in the present that the right question is just going to come up from you. Oftentimes I'll say, I don't know why this is coming up, but it just is. So let me just ask you. And it's just something that I felt based on what's happened. And for the person, it's always bang on. Okay. It's not about you. The right things come up. But if you're sitting there thinking, what should I say next? What is the right question? You are not in the present. Never. Because those things are past or future. Last time I said something, they didn't know what I meant. I don't know what I'm going to say next. Those are past and future. In the present, the question is always there. And if you're thinking the question has never been there for me, I'm going to challenge you to really look at yourself. Were you in the present? Lynn, is it all at Liberty? Everybody's running their own show. I work my horses 100% at Liberty in a large 15-acre pasture until they choose to step up. They're not haltered. They are hanging out in their pasture. When they choose to step up, it really depends what we're doing. I would say 95% of what we do is at Liberty. If there's a safety piece, you may halter. And again, that's mine. Jess is going to talk in a moment. Hers is much different. Okay. But yeah, trusting your gut, trusting what's in front of you, trusting your intuition, you'll know. And everybody runs them different. The whole overarching piece here is how do we steward our horses to a much higher level, and how do we empower them to be incredible? And so allow your horses to be the guru. You're just a contributor. Release that from yourself, and really, honestly, watch your sessions soar. Oh, I'm going to reiterate that one, I guess. Okay, so I'm excited to hand it over. What time are we? Oh, perfectly on time. I'm going to hand it over to my business partner, Jessica. Jessica's phenomenal. And although we hold the exact same pillars, she comes from a much different background and is going to give you kind of a little bit of insight on what we've been talking about from her view. And so super excited to hand it over to Jess. She's an incredible mom. She's an incredible business person. She runs her own facility on top of this and is full-time in leadership as well. And so stick around. You're going to learn a lot from her. I know I am.
Thank you so much, Tamara. And hey, everyone. I'm just going to share some stories with you to kind of drive all these pieces home, and maybe you can relate to them in some way. And I had to laugh because one of them, of the 4 pillars that we kind of all work with, allow was the one that came up the most, and this is what I'm going to be talking about. So I have a horse called Belle, as you can see pictured here, and she is bomb-proof. She is one of those horses, big draft percheron mare, 17 hands, 2,000 pounds, and she is as solid as a rock. I've had her about 3 years. And a part of my program is I allow at-risk youth to share recovery journeys of horses that I get from the auction. And that's where her journey started with me as soon as she stepped off the trailer. So every year I do an annual vet check on my horses, just to make sure, everything's good. So actually this year's vet check with Belle, the vet commented about how calm she was on the outside, and how stoic she was, and she listened to her heartbeat and it was really fast. And she said, on the inside she is really nervous, and on the outside she is extremely calm. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if this horse has ulcers. That's something I typically see with people or with businesses that in your industry. I was like, okay, tell me more about that. Let's explore that. Because I am a firm believer of advocating the professionalism in what we do. So, she said it's not uncommon for horses to have ulcers, to, carry those stresses that us humans can put on them. And I really wanted to open up that conversation and explain, well, I allow my horses to work in choice. So I said to her, she's an equine vet, she has horses herself. And, I said to her, if you've had a really bad day, a really stressful day, and all you want to do is go ride your horse, and you go out to your pasture and you're there with your halter and you're just so mad, you just can't wait to ride your horse, do you think that you can catch him that day? Well, no, I probably wouldn't be able to get near him. Like, well, why? Because I'm mad. It's like, exactly. So she totally understood where I was going with that. And that is the opportunity that I allow the kids that come out to my place. And if we can facilitate and not step in and catch the horses and allow them to experience that true reflection at liberty and be okay with maybe not catching a horse that day, you will find that that's where transformation and growth truly happens. So I think it's really important to count on our professionals like vets to help us understand our horses and make sure that we truly know what's going on for them and recognize your horse's zone of genius. So one thing with Belle, you know, she's very popular because kids always want to work with her. She's this great, big, gigantic animal that a child can easily work with. And she's so quiet in that too, that it's very calming. And she would always, like, on sometimes she would a kid would go up with the halter, and she would maybe take 1 or 2 steps away from them, but always stand. But since this visit to the vet, I have had to dial in on her subtleties to know when she is saying not today, or maybe look at this some more, is those 1 or 2 steps away. So I think it's so important to peel back the layers and truly understand your horse. And, you know, I've been doing this a while and I'm still learning things about my horses. So if we can go to the next slide, Tamara. So how can we allow horses? I saw a comment there about working in liberty and does it always have to be done? I mean, I guess that allows the biggest choice, but I'm going to go through 3 things here that just kind of bring awareness to help your horses work in choice. So number 1 is setup. I've spoken to, you know, lots of people during mentorship calls about their setup. You know, maybe the horses are boarded and they have individual pens. It's in this piece, the way you set up your horses is so important in allowing choice. So an example, maybe if they're in individual pens, but you have an open arena, turn them out in there before you get started, you know, 10-15 minutes beforehand to let them settle or something like that. Number 2, driving home that piece of working in the unknown moment. So those 4 things: presence, awareness, allowing, and trust. Like, it is so important to keep that in mind during the sessions, throughout the session, not just at the start. And then number 3, your back pocket toolkit. Very important. For me, I trained and coached horses for many years. So I resonate with some of the comments about how do you switch to this horse facilitated development when you're so used to being in control and directing all of the time. And it comes back to working in the present, watching the horse in front of you and not stepping in. You know, the kid that's struggling with the halter, don't step in and do it for them. Allow them that struggle and allow them to ask for help. Don't rip people off the opportunity to learn and grow, because that's what we do. So yeah, my back pocket is a piece of string, piece of bell and twine. So yeah, if we go to the next slide, Tamara, I have a story here about, there we go. So this is at Tamara's ranch with Tamara's herd during facilitated training week. It was the first one that we did. So not my herd, not my setup, not my place, and I had to facilitate. And the thing that I always had to bring myself back to, because this is slightly out of my comfort zone, but is trusting the horse to be a horse. That's kind of what I always had to come back to, not knowing the herd as well as I know mine. So in this moment, this is one of the facilitators, and the horse that's halted here is the leader of Tamara's herd. It was leadership that we were really literally stepping into in this exact moment, where she found congruencies. There's even a horse at liberty choosing to follow along behind her. So it was such a transformational piece for her in this moment. So the next day, naturally, she wanted to work with this same horse again, this same leader. So, you know, okay, I allowed her to make those choices, and I also allow the horses to say yes or no. So I give her the halter and lead her, okay, we'll go halter the horse you want to work with. And the horse turned away. It took her a couple of minutes before she could halter him. And she's experienced with horses as well, I might add. So I had something planned that I thought might work already, but in that moment I pivoted and I wanted to explore the horse's choice in that moment when being haltered. So we went to the round pen and took the halter off and started with that same leadership piece, but at liberty, and she couldn't get it. The horse was saying no. So that opened up the door to what's holding her back, these kinds of things. As soon as she broke through that and got it, it all came congruent. The horse was walking around the round pen at liberty with her. And then to throw another thing in there, living in the unknown moments and working with horses, all of the herd ran away into Tamara's 15-acre pasture. So I have a client, a horse in the round pen. I'm not in the round pen. I'm staying out of the space, and all of the horses leave. So of course the lead horse is picking up the pace. He's cantering around the round pen and whinnying back and forth, clearly distressed. So I asked her, what do you feel is right in this moment? What do you want to do? I want to let him go. Lets the horse go. He gallops off to the herd, and it was a really, again, transformational piece for her that she was able to take away. And all of that happened in about 20 minutes. So it is so important to allow these things to happen instead of filling, you know, they booked for 60, so we've got to fill it to 60 and the horse is left. What do I do next? You had conversation, you've got reflection on that moment. So I just thought I would share those two pieces. And with that, I really encourage you to implement your biggest takeaway from this call this week. So whether it be your back pocket, whether it be allowing more, and share that success or whatever in the round pen. So with that, I'll pass it back to Tamara.
Awesome. Thanks, Jess. I think the most powerful thing I heard you say was, you know, you're talking about haltering a horse, right? And you were saying how now, if Belle takes 2 steps, she didn't choose. Because she stood there didn't mean she chose. That's the level that we need to raise our bar to, all of us as a profession. That's the level where people start taking us real seriously in the mental health space, realizing that, you know, that is where we work. And but what that wasn't the piece. The piece I was going to say was, sometimes you're not going to catch a horse that day. If the whole idea was, here's a halter, go halter a horse, and they can't halter, if we stick to the exercise, well, then we better get a halter and a horse, right? We have to do it. We have to make it happen. Even though the horse is saying, no, that's what we're doing. Or we step in, we rob them from the learning piece, because there's a reason they can't halter that day, right? And again, the thing's not the thing. It's not about haltering a horse. It's about why they can't, or how it made them feel, right? All those learning pieces. But so often we want to make it easy, right? And so we go in and we just halter the horse. And oh, we can't get him moving. Okay, we'll do that. Oh, the horse is frozen. Oh, I'll get him going for you so we can get you to the next pylon, right? There's power in that comment of, maybe you're not going to halter a horse today. So perfect. So as we come up to the end, thank you for spending your hour here. You know, you could be anywhere doing anything. I hope you found a tidbit. I know it's a lot of information, but I hope you found even just one little tidbit. And if you did, I'd love you to throw it in the chat. What's the piece that you can take forward? What's the piece that you can put into your facility? What's the piece you can commit to as you move forward in building your niche facility? And so our next round pen, if you're not in the round pen group, we'd love to invite you. Facebook groups, the round pen, that's a place for professional facilitators to inspire great ideas, right? Move you closer to who you really want to be and how you want to work every single day. In there, if you go into files, you can download the bonus activity. So for today, the bonus activity is that back pocket toolkit. It's just a really basic things you can, confidence. That's all it is, confidence for your back pocket. I'm not saying don't have an idea on what you're going to do. have an idea, and then allow the horses to be incredible. And so our next round pen is 1 month. It's always 4 weeks on the rolling Monday, and it's always the same time. So wherever you join from, I know you're from all over the world. Very cool to have you here. It's always going to be this same time. Our next one is March 13th, and it's business, using your obstacles to create your opportunities. Okay. How to use your obstacles to create your opportunities. So that's the last piece, the last bit. I'll let you know, because fortune favors the bold and the brave. Oh, I got 20 messages of what you took from it. Oh, 4 pillars. Yeah, Pauline. Here's the thing. There is nothing more powerful than a facilitator who only works in their niche and their zone of genius, paired with horses in a herd that are empowered to work only in their niche and their zone of genius. There's no quicker way to fill your facility. There's no quicker way to live in impact and empowerment than moving those together. And so if anyone's interested, we are launching, it's coming out this week. It's called Wildly Unbridled, and it's all about your zone of genius. And it's all about your zone of genius, igniting your confidence, getting into your niche, how to facilitate at a much deeper level in the unknown moments, and how to launch or relaunch and run your wildly successful horse business. So if you're interested in that, Jess, if you can just throw in the link, there's only 15 spots for founding members, and 2 of them actually went this morning. So if you're interested, fill out the link because they'll fill up. Otherwise, thank you for showing up. We really appreciate having you here. I hope you found something that you were looking for, and we'll see you in the round pen. So thanks so much, everyone. And Jess, if you want to stop the recording, but we can stay on for a moment, I can look through the questions and